Alright, this is the video that I wanted to record before the webinar that starts tomorrow for 1 hour only. Just an introduction to the concept of purpose in coaching and why it was important for me to start this conversation, and I hope it will be a conversation, sharing the experiences, sharing of thoughts, sharing of the visions and purposes tomorrow, so we can enrich each other by experiences, because we are all unique, and the conversation, communication and connection is what give us the power of understanding and the power of moving on into the same, maybe similar directions with more force, more dedication, more understanding and clarity. So I have a couple of questions that will help us to guide the discussion. A space for authentic dialogue. That's my hope and intention. So from the beginning I opened the space for reflection, and the question is, what if we chose coaches by their connection to the future rather than their connection to the past? So how it connected to the purpose? Well, now if we go and explore the marketing side of the coaching, and I did myself a lot of this marketing and promotional side of my work. Last year I was burned out totally, but what I got from there is that I was promoting myself based on my expertise from the past. What positions I had, what experience I had on the previous workplaces, and how I can integrate them into my coaching. Of course they have influence on my work, of course, because everything that I had before builds who I am right now. But when we choose a coach, what criteria is it? How far or how high he or she got in the corporate ladder, and then they can bring their expertise or experience into the coaching, into the consulting, I guess. Because in coaching, when we share the experience, it's more about, see, I could do it, meaning that you can do it. But that's quite a judgment even, because if we say that every person is unique and our clients are unique, I think it's better to be focused on what's going on in the client's life. Of course, a client can choose a coach by the experience. So I want to be like her, I want to be like him, he could do it, he knows how, then I can learn. But coaching is not about learning from another human being, it's learning from yourself. And in coaching relationship, coach is a partner. What happens if a coach shares her experience? All right, you could do it, good for you. What should I do as a client? What should I do with this experience, with this knowledge in my situation? Do I copy it? Do I make it as a guidance for me? Well, let's dive in your past, why you could do this and I still couldn't do it by that time. So for me it's a little bit a change in the paradigm of coaching, the instrument itself, if we focus on the past of the coach. So what if we don't focus on the past, on the categories by which we see the past of the coach, but on the categories and labels that we bring in marketing to get the clients? Like a coach, a transformative coach, a family coach, a career coach. So we kind of we reduce ourselves to those labels to get the attention of the client. I guess that's the connection by pain that we could overcome in our coaching or in our life as a whole. And then, because we could overcome and heal maybe, and we know how, or at least that's the question, do we know how we did it? Or the answer to this question is more complex, that the circumstances were there the favorable circumstances that helped us to do what we could, and yet it doesn't mean that our client has the same circumstances. So again, I go again and again to the point that we are all unique, and our past achievements as humans and coaches do not transform into successes of our clients. That's my belief. And what if we go together with the client for the future, to the future together? And what if we choose a coach by purpose, by vision, translated by coach? For example, even though I will not get into how I got there, but I have my vision, I have my purpose, I have a vision of peaceful world, as huge as it is, the idea very huge, and how to get there, I have my guesses, I have my beliefs upon which I take actions right now. But I have this vision, and my husband said that not everybody has this vision, not everybody wants peace in the world. And for me, I was kind of frustrated that why it's not the vision of every human. Otherwise we would be living at peace already. But there are a diversity of visions, and if we connect on the past experiences, but we move in different directions with our clients, what's the point of interaction here? Past is past. Whatever we get from our past is something unique for us, and with the same past given to our client, probably they would get different things, different experiences, different lessons. So our A points, point A could be different. Our interaction right now based on past doesn't really move us that effectively to the future, and coaching is about future, about building a future. So my argument is that if we connect with another human being or client to coach on the base of aligned purpose, then we can move there more efficiently. And if we see, as a coach, if we see that client is already connected to the future by their purpose, that's much easier to work with the client, right? He or she has kind of a pin there already in the future. What about coach? A coach with a vision and a purpose doesn't need to build anything else but awareness, and increase awareness around her or him, about his vision, right? And then connect on that. And we already go into the future. So the difference between experience-based and purpose-driven coaching. See, experience-based, it's kind of stagnant. It's been there. And purpose-driven, it's driven, it's moving, it's always in motion. So the efficiency even noticeable in the words. And for social impact, for me it's very clear. Social impact is about change that never been possible before. Not because it's impossible, but because the purpose was different. The mechanisms, the tools were different. Maybe the tools and social consciousness were not on the level for this purpose to be realized, for the peaceful coexistence. What should be done? What can be done right now to start? In my opinion, and that guides me in my practice, the first thing we should target is generational trauma. So I pay a lot of attention to children and family and how we raise our children, how we make them, how we open their potential. They came with a mission. They come with mission, they come with potential, they come with purpose. Then we change them to fit into the society, a dysfunctional society, because a peaceful coexistence is still not possible, not here, not realized here. So the society is dysfunctional. People cannot live in peace. So we try to help our kids to live in this society peacefully, but it's dysfunctional. It's a bigger talk, but I see how we can direct our effort towards the children, from the very beginning from conception, taking care of mothers, taking care of the families and children, and creating a safe space for realization of this mission, purpose, and to transform generational trauma. I believe, and I do, apply conscious parenting and reparenting framework. Conscious because we go inside, we understand what happens, what are the pains, what are the limiting beliefs, including categories and labels. They are very internalized, and even though we think that sometimes it's honorable, and some people have pride in being identified by their labels, but it's very limiting. If we go and see towards the future, the labels are, I wrote somewhere that the labels and categories trauma is in discuss. So it's really trauma, and how it's how it travels through generations, through traditions, through labels, through categories that we are conditioned upon with. So when we born, we don't have those labels. Then they kind of get stuck on us by the external world, by our parents, for the sake of safety, they say. So you better be that and not that. You better do this because it's right, or it's safe, or it's good. When we grow up, we go to therapist and coach and unlearn that. In many cases, we unlearn limiting beliefs, which are basically categories in a way. So, my proposition is to pay attention to those categories and be more flexible and abundant in the possibilities for our children, to give them space and time for development they worth of, not that we can afford. That's quite a stretch for us as parents and people in general. So this is my vision and this is my how. What's yours? I'm very curious. I'm really curious how people coach or mentor or consult without having a vision, without having a purpose. What's that? What is that real transaction here? What are we getting from these relationships? That's a rhetoric question, and actually the scary one if we go deeper, because if there is no purpose, no vision for the future, what are you coaching for? What, for money? Is it satisfying? If it's not, if it gives you, for the coach, if it gives stress, then this energy transfers to the client too. So what is in the transaction really? A second question, the two phases of coaching, market value versus social value, bridging the gap between professional positioning and authentic purpose. That's quite very close to what I've just said. Professional positioning, there are a lot of categories that you choose from when you position yourself. And I saw it so clearly in the session that I did, pro bono session for International Coaching Week, with a young coach, and she asked how to make it going, how to be motivated, how to remove this imposter syndrome. And I thought, when we are young coaches, when we just start the profession, into the profession, into the business, we want to know how to make it right, how to make it quick, probably how to make more financially interesting for us, but we rarely ask the question, what for? What's the purpose? And I don't really remember in my training that we focused too much on that, on the purpose. We talked about purpose of coaching as instrument. We talked about ethical code of ICF. We talked about competencies as a structure and guidelines. And they are great and perfect, but we didn't focus enough on a personal purpose, on the personal vision of a coach. And I'm sure it's very important. So that's why I'm starting this conversation. And I want more collaboration, more understanding on that, and more awareness, more depth. So how we market ourselves as coaches depends on how competitive we want to be with others. We compete in categories. And what I wanted to note about that session with a young coach, she asked me how to, and I asked me what for. And we continued transformation, sure. And she said, what about those coaches that call themselves transformational coach? Where do they get this right to call themselves transformational? Did they graduate from a transformation building course or program, and I asked her, what kind of coaching by standards of ICF is not transformational? It's by definition a transformation, and the depth depends on the coach, and the depth, I believe, depends on the vision and purpose of the coach that you bring into transaction of knowledge, of energy, of time you invested in your business, in your connection with your clients. You invest a piece of your soul, which is visible by the purpose you have, by the vision. It's your connection to the future, so it's something yours, to the point that you want to spend time of your life on that, and time of your life is the only real thing that you can kind of measure yourself. And the question, how might we honor both our need to sustain ourselves and our calling to serve? To serve and to sustain. It's like binary thinking that they are opposites. They are not. I guess, I believe we should normalize to pay for the future, to pay for the purpose that coach has. Not just skills, not just craft, but something deeper, the energy, something that AI cannot have. Conscious, intentional movement, not just of the body, but of the mind and soul towards a purpose. What is purpose? Does AI has a purpose, or just the goals set by algorithms? And our human purpose, I believe, is connected to something that they say conscious quantum field. We are parts, or we are states of something one. We exchange energy, we get feeling of belonging to something bigger. That's spirituality, okay? Spirituality. So purpose in coaching, I believe, should be linked to spirituality somehow. Maybe some other coaches are not comfortable in marketing it. I think it's me also. But if we talk about it in depth, then it's connected to spirituality in any way. And market value versus social value. See, it's not only social value, it's spiritual value, and spiritual value that connects us as humans. It's not only social. Can be a society without a spirit? It can. We can see it. What becomes possible when we lead with purpose first? For some reason, I jumped back into the childhood. What can be accomplished, what can become possible if we see our parents navigating life guided by their purposes? It will be totally different childhood experience, rather than very busy parents, people who rush to accomplish short-term goals or long-term dreams of others because they believe it's their dreams, and never satisfied with what they receive, but they did it. And this kind of rolling unsatisfaction or dissatisfaction with we did so much and what, and pointless effort, it feels sad in our childhood. We don't understand why. We don't understand what we sense from our parents, but that's the meaningless, something meaningless. They do something meaningless because as children we are more connected to the spiritual one than to a materialistic life that our parents exist in. So the conscious parenting and reparenting framework connects us as parents to our spiritual self, giving more space for that for our children, and giving more opportunity of understanding their purpose and mission they came with in this world. And if it's the assumption that they have this purpose already, then there is no way, there is no point to find the purpose later in life, but there is a good point to discover this purpose of this particular individual or child from very beginning of life. That's a quest for the parent to see, to observe, to try to understand and try to accommodate the development of the purpose the child came with into a mission, into interest, talents, into something more tangible in life, and celebrate it with your kid. Do you think when we embrace this framework for more and more people, the society itself will be more spiritual, more comfortable with that, and more accommodating for uniqueness of each individual? Because you see, if you come to the world with unique purpose or mission, then you are unique by that. And right now we don't allow it. We don't allow uniqueness and time. We don't allow time and space in parenting to see this uniqueness. We try to categorize a child to something. Try to, if we don't understand the behavior, we try to use tests. Psychologists, psychiatrists tell me, what is it, this child? What category I have to box him or her, so I can manage it. See, when we are born into the family of managers, we are not, we have to perform to get to there, to satisfy them. So a little bit sad, right? But kind of opens up the conversation for exploration of possibilities. What if we lead with purpose first? What is your purpose as a coach? What is your purpose as a parent, grandparent, or who reparents, who are on the journey of reparenting, becoming a parent to your inner child, to transmute the pain and limitation into purpose. And what I want to say, that breaking the cycle of generational trauma can be the purpose itself, and it's super powerful purpose. Just breaking, be the last one who transfers the generational trauma packaged in a category or many categories into the future. Don't bring those outdated categories that bring pain to your children? Can you liberate them from the past? It's not about not honoring the past. You can honor, but why you condition a new generation with the past, with its pain? What's the purpose? Not the traditional purpose. I know that traditional purpose is to control. That's why. But if you connect to the future, what's the purpose? If you connect to your spiritual self, what's the purpose of it? I don't see any purpose. What about you? Collaborative visioning, transforming the coaching landscape. How can we create new paradigm where purpose and profit align? Alright, do we need to create something new besides the ethical code and those 8 competencies that ICF already has? Do we need something else? Is it not enough? I think it's not enough. And those who say we need to upgrade ICF approach or enhance it in more visibility for categories, I disagree strongly, because categories is a packaged trauma from the past, and I want to use coaching instrument as magic wand for the future, and it has its capacity if we are not boxed in the categories of the past. Trauma-informed coaching, that's about the past. And being myself a trauma-informed coaching, it's about seeing the difficulty, seeing the past in the present moment, working with the client, seeing it through a posture, gestures, silence on some questions. Something is there for this client, and given space and time to be with it, not chewing on it, not chewing on the suffering, but to honor this experience and get the most valuable things from that, so we can move in more purposeful future. And if my client is aligned with my purpose, with my vision, I know that I can bring, just by sharing my vision, I can bring this client from the past trauma to the future liberation from this trauma in a more meaningful way, if the client aligns with my vision, with my purpose, right? We already have some common ground. And any trauma owned by a client, me as a coach, a trauma-informed coach, I can help to move from stuck past to a more light future, to more mobile, exciting future based on peace and calmness and self-understanding and self-worth and healthy boundaries. Everything that past trauma can teach us. We are not stuck there. We are moving to the future, being informed about the past. That's it. We are not bringing it to the future. That's a big difference. What structures would support both sustainable business and meaningful social impact? That's an open discussion here. What structures would support both sustainable business and meaningful social impact? I would say it would be easier if we change the whole social paradigm of being competitive and believing that war is normal, that conflict resolution is not always possible in a peaceful way. That's outdated. I would love to see the society not based on categories of pain people had in the previous generations, but based on purpose of each, even if it's a unique purpose. The interest and attention to unique purposes would move the society in a totally different structures even. So categories are for structures. How about rearrangement? How about evolving from categories of painful experiences? Why people who want liberation are so clinging, or they hold on those categories for what? To honor them, but those categories brought in slavery to them. They are enslaved by the categories they honor, even though they say it brings clarity. Okay, clarity, it was painful, move on. What holds you back? What guilt holds you back? Alright, commitment to actions, individual and collective next steps. That's 2 points that are too big for this discussion. And right now in this video that I'm recording prior to webinar, I spent already 37 minutes talking alone. Can you imagine how much wisdom and information sharing can happen tomorrow on those topics? And I covered only 3. And commitment to action, that's I think it's impossible to cover today, because we need more discussion, more awareness, more people, more interest to the topic. And based on what I heard from my invitations to this webinar, and people said that's a very important, powerful topic, very interesting, I would love to have the recording. I would love to talk to more people about that. I would love to bring these questions into a larger community. I will ask ICF, a local chapter, if I can bring this topic into conversation for coaches locally. And maybe, just maybe, we can create a community, or I don't know how to call it, an engine, a battery charge on purpose, so we can connect to other coaches to charge them with the enthusiasm about purpose-driven coaching. So is it another category? No, it's a process. Category is stagnant. It's about labeling. Purpose-driven coaching is a process with depth that many of us are looking for.